it together. They got to get it together.
Listen, they're not the Mets yet. They haven't fallen completely apart. The wheels haven't come completely off yet.
They'll never be the Mets. Let's be very, very clear about that. The Mets will never be the Yankees.
Now, they're both a disaster at the exact same time, but no, that will never be the case. But Steve, I got to give you credit. You told us last time you were here, you said as soon as the situation at ESPN becomes official, you would come back on. And I looked at my calendar, and a couple of days later, it said, boom, Stephen A is back on the calendar.
Yeah, there we go. I'm here. I told you.
The internet says that you wanted Max Kellerman off the program. I saw him say goodbye the other day. You called in. You had a sleep apnea surgery, which I want to get into a little bit just to learn a little bit about you a little bit more. But it didn't seem like you and Max had a bad relationship at all. So where do those rumors come from? And what's the truth with the departure of Max Kellerman from First Take?
Well, the rumor's accurate in terms of me wanting him off the show. Let's get that out the way. Yes, I did. We don't have a bad relationship. I think he's a real good guy. I appreciate what he did for the show. We were number one for 5 years. We stayed number one, and I appreciate that. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the work that goes into doing the show every single day. And the reality is that we have 15 segments a day, 75 segments a week. Over 3,000 takes a year. In the 9 years that I've been on First Take, I've given over 33,000 takes. And what a lot of people don't realize is that not just the work that goes into that, but also the fact that it's a chemistry that you have, and sometimes it just stalls. And the audience lets you know that it is what it is, and you feel the need for something fresh. You feel the need to retool. And the reason why I'm unapologetic about my position is that, number one, there's no knock against him personally, his professionalism, his work ethic, and all of that other stuff, his talent. It's not like I wanted the guy to be fired or anything like that. I knew that there were landing spots for him available at this network that would generate just as much, if not more, revenue for him and all of that other stuff. And it wasn't really about asking him to be off the show. It was about the fact that I knew that we together, as far as I was concerned, was not a great partnership anymore. And that was something that needed to change. And we cover the world of sports. And this is where maybe I stand on an island all by myself in saying this, but I'm absolutely flabbergasted that people would react the way that they do in terms of stuff like this, because we cover the world of sports. Yes, Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Pete, Ebro, they're an aberration because they're returning all 22 starters and their entire coaching staff and all of that stuff.
Right.
John Madden did that as well. But when you're trying to win and win for a long period of time, you don't stand still. Championship squads change all the time. And so for me, I remember in 2012 where First Take was on the verge of cancellation, and Skip Bayless asked me to come on board. And I come on board, and a month later, we go number one. That 9 years ago. And we were number one for 4 years. And then Max comes on board, and we number one for 5 years. Well, that means I've been number one for 9 years. It means I got a pretty good idea about what I'm doing when it comes to this show and what's necessary in order for it to work. And so for me, when I first spoke to Max about stuff years ago, I said, Joe, man, we doing this more than 3 years together. It's a problem, because I'm always looking to expand, to move on, to diversify my portfolio and to make things happen. And you'll be hard pressed for me to say to you after 3 years, we should be together for longer than that. Let's ride this wave. Let's be number one, and we'll go from there. Well, we weren't number one for 3 years. We extended it to 5.
What I hear you saying is that you believe change is how you keep things fresh.
Yep.
You believe you're basically saying that no one is permanent on First Take. Whatever it takes to keep it fresh is what's going to happen.
Yes. This
has nothing to do with Max. This has everything to do with how you see keeping things fresh and entertaining.
Absolutely. And then not only that, It also wasn't my decision. I gave my recommendation. They ask it, I tell it. Every single year when the season, when the NBA season comes to an end, the bosses ask me where I stand. And for the last 3 years, I said, this is where I stood. And not only
so
did
you've
I
been consistent with the position that we need to
yeah,
evolve the program. We need a new energy for the last 3 years. But
not
they're
just
going to take your
hold on,
recommendation,
hold on,
right?
hold on,
Or
not well, let me say this to you. Not just that. I also told Max that.
right.
And how did Max react to that?
He disagreed with me. And he disagreed with me 3 years ago. He disagreed 2 years ago. He disagreed this time. We've always understood where we stand with each other. And he also knew that it was nothing personal and it was nothing against him as a talent. I got a lot of respect for Max, and I genuinely like Max as a person. But I just didn't feel that, moving forward, he and I together was the right call. And I said that to the bosses. They disagreed with me a few times in the past. Evidently, this time they understood and they made the move.
No one will ever accuse you of holding back, Stephen A. So let's keep it real. Let's keep this moving.
Sure.
How did you do on Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, they say I did great. Let's go with that.
Well, I want to know, did they ask you back?
Yes.
That's the tell.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Then you did. So you did damn good then.
But I want to know how Stephen A. felt about it. How did you think?
The honchos at Jimmy Kimmel, along with the honchos at Disney, were incredibly happy with what I did, and they said that they want me to do it more because they know I want my own late night show. They know I'm unapologetic about that, whether it's network television or an outlet like Hulu. They know they know exactly where I stand and how I feel and what my aspirations are. But that was my first time ever doing it. And so when people say you need more reps, you need more practice, let's see what you can do if you're doing this continuously. Having a big night one night is a real big plus, but let's see if you can do that again. That's where their mentality is. We'll see what happens. There are no guarantees. Nobody's made any promises to me or anything like that, but they know where my heart lies. And they know that I don't stand still, that I'm constantly looking to evolve and get better and upgrade my quality of life as it pertains, not just to money or anything like that, but the actual job you go in to do every day. It's incredibly important to me at this particular moment in time of my life to just have a good time, man. There's so much stuff that's going on in the world, and there's so many things that can bring you down. But when you are in front of that camera, you got to bring something to the table. And with me, it's not just my knowledge, it's my passion for what I do. And when I'm not passionate, that's also evident. And when it's not there, people are going to notice, they're going to talk about it, and it's something that could ultimately damage you in terms of your future aspirations. And I'm never going to let that happen with me if I can help it. And so for me, the thought of doing late night is something that I enjoy thoroughly. I'm after it. I'm unapologetic about it. I'm going for it. And hopefully they'll have me back to do more of those things. And hopefully someday in the near future, I'll be hosting a late night show, whether it be for Hulu, FX, or something else, or network television. But make no mistake about it, I'm going for it. And I'm not talking about going for it. I'm not talking about going for it at the expense of First Take. I ain't leaving First Take. I got 4 years to go on First Take, and I'm going to fulfill my commitment to First Take, whether I get a late night show or not. But I'm going for a late night show. It's what the hell I want to do. And
you're gonna have to start sleeping better. Let me just tell you right now, as your friend, you know what I'm saying? You want to do all these jobs and everything, Stephen. That's cute. But you're gonna have to start sleeping better.
Well, I will tell you this. There's nowhere to go but up, because I've been suffering from sleep apnea all my adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that, for those that don't know, it's basically your tongue is collapsing in the back of your throat once it gets relaxed and you're resting, and it blocks your passages, your breathing passages. But what can make it worse and even significantly more dangerous is when you don't have oxygen and air going through those nostrils. And so when I spoke to y'all, right around that week or so, they discovered when I went to the doctor that I had like 90% blockage in my nostril. And so as a result of that, they decided that they needed to operate on me. And so that was why I told y'all, I would come back on. I couldn't come back when the whole Max news came down and all of that stuff. And people were like, where's Stephen A? Where's Stephen A? Well, I was at St. Francis Hospital in Long Island getting my damn nostrils operated on. I was hospitalized for a day and a half. I had 2 big splinters from the tip of my nose all the way up between my eyes, placed on both sides of my nostrils and all of that other stuff. And it was essentially surgery to open to address the septum and to open up my breathing passages and what have you, so I can breathe through my nostrils while I'm getting some sleep and stuff like that. So for the most part, it works because all of these years, I would tell you for at least the last 25, 30 years, I can count the days on one hand that I did not wake up with a migraine. So I would wake up every day, I'd have migraines, and I would have to work my way through it. And so for me, the toughest part I've passed. In other words, it can't get much worse than it has been the last 25, 30 years. I'm hoping the surgery works. They say that it takes about 6 weeks to really kick in and all of that other stuff. And we'll see what happens because the surgery was just three weeks ago or so. And I'm working through it, and I expect to be better than ever.
Well, look, I know one thing. You're gonna be a little more nicer. We're gonna get a nicer Stephen A. Smith. See,
arrested
look, he's already
Stephen
smiling.
A. Yeah.
Arrested, less emotional. Nicer Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if the world's prepared for this.
I think you're wrong. I actually happen to believe I'm a very nice guy. Really, I've always believed I'm a very nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
John Thompson, the late great John Thompson, former coach at Georgetown, I think that he encapsulated me and what I'm about a long time ago. He said he was hosting his radio show in DC with Doc Walker and those guys, and he finished the interview. He said, "This is what I love about Stephen A. You want to know how he feels? Just ask him." It's really that simple. And so for me, people talk about hot takes, or people talk about, well, Stephen said this, and they attach a headline for clickbait material and all of this other stuff. When people ask me a question, I answer them. I give them an honest answer, period. Now, I'm not going to debate people for free. People try to come up to me on the streets, in the supermarket, whatever the case may be. I'll be like, stop right there. I get paid to debate. I ain't doing that for free. You cancel that. But you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. And that's me, and that's always been me, and it ain't going to change.
Well, now, Stephen A., you worked in Philly for a long time.
Yep.
How does Ben Simmons fix his lips to say, after his performance and his time in Philly, that he is not, and I know where this is a few days, but I know you've been out for a little while. I wanted to just hear, how does Ben Simmons even fix his lips to act like he's got a problem with the Sixers when he has been the problem?
I have no damn idea whatsoever. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard him say. It's not his job to elevate his trade value. It's their job, blah, blah, blah. He wants out, and he's playing the role of victim. He's acting like the city of Philadelphia and the Sixers organization did something to him. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And it's sad because I'm going to tell you why. I'm one of those guys who's been on the record on many occasions. I believe that Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being LeBron James 2.0. He's that gifted. The brother is 6'10". He's got nasty ball handling skills, passing skills, high basketball IQ, incredibly athletic, can finish at the basket, and he is an elite defender. He was my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. The brother is special. He's got 2 problems. A, he can't shoot, whether it's from the perimeter or from the free throw line. And B, he doesn't seem to care enough to fix it. Those are the 2 issues that he has. And the latter is more important than the former. Put this in its proper perspective. Do y'all understand that if Ben Simmons, as awful as he is of a perimeter shooter, if Ben Simmons shot 75 to 80% from the free throw line, do y'all understand he's good for 23 to 25 a night? Think about that. Damn. Without a jump shot at all. He's good for 23 to 25 points a night just based on if he could shoot free throws at a 75 to 80% clip. He's that gifted. And so for me, he want to live a certain life. He want to be about certain things or whatever. But the ultimate indictment against him is the fact that he seems to not want to work on the weaknesses in his game. And more importantly, he blaming everybody but himself.
A city like Philly that has thrashed players in all sports, thrashed players that are on the team. They stood by. I watched the city stand by and make excuses. The organization, announcers like yourself, fans, everyone make excuses and basically gloss over his inability to put the ball, the basics of basketball, which is putting the ball in the basket.
I don't think they glossed over. I think they chose to support him in spite of it.
Okay,
I think that's actually the real.
Yes, absolutely. And
then
you shit on
all the other gifts, or we recognize all the other gifts that he had. But you got to remember, this is different. See, this is the first time they've called him out the way that they have, because what we saw, and I was at that game in Atlanta when they lost that game. I was there, and this brother literally was scared to shoot. And the one thing about Philadelphia, as a guy that worked in the city for 17 years as a reporter and then a columnist, NBA columnist, and then I became a general sports columnist, I know Philly. And the one thing you can't do is have fear. They can't look at you and see you scared. You got to remember something. AI, the Hall of Famer, that is the answer. That is Allen Iverson. Of all the skills, of all the traits that he had, what's the number one trait he had? Heart. He was a warrior. He ain't scared of anything. He was willing to go in the land of giants and try to slay you. And that's why Philadelphia was in love with him, even when they criticized him, even when they lamented some of his habits that got in the way and served as an impediment to his ultimate progress. In the end, he was deified because he had the heart of a lion and he personified everything that Philly wants to be. Ben Simmons has done the opposite, because you've shown you were scared to shoot the basketball. And whatever he's going through before, whatever you pointed to, Ebro, it ain't nothing compared to what's waiting for him now. Because
and if they make him stick around and he just has to stay in Philly, it's going to be an ugly situation. Now, Steven, what would be on my mind today if I was on First Take? And by the way, I should come on First Take sometime, Steven. I hear you're rotating guests. I work at ESPN.
You could come get some.
Steven, wear his ass out. Yo, that's Steven, when he come up there, wear his ass out. I need that audio.
Now, Steven, here's what I'd be hot on today.
Yeah, man.
How did the United States play a meaningful qualifying soccer game last night that they actually came back and won? They started out terrible. We're going to lose to Honduras. They come back and win 4-1. Major step to maybe making the World Cup. And the only place you could watch it was without commentary on Paramount Plus. How on earth can we ever not be a disgrace in this sport, Stephen A., if you can't watch this team even in qualifying? You probably didn't even know they had a game last night.
Did not know. The first I was hearing from is when you just
right. That's crazy.
I don't know what the hell you want me to tell you about that. I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know, man. I have no idea.
It's an absolute, to me, it's just such an embarrassment. Like, I look at us on the international stage and say, this is the sport that everyone plays. You're never going to get the best athletes to ever play the sport if you're on Paramount Plus.
Right.
It's to me, it's totally embarrassing. Now let's talk about something positive. Derek Jeter, your man, went in yesterday, classy as he always was.
El Capitan, yes.
El Capitan. I saw Red Sox fans out there in the world. I got to say this existed yesterday, Steven. There were people out there tweeting yesterday that Nomar Garciaparra was a better player than Derek Jeter.
Garciaparra could ball. He wasn't no Derek Jeter. And what we have to take into consideration is not just who you were as a player, but the environment that you had to perform in and under, and what you did in moments of duress. And so for me, when I think about Derek Jeter, I think about class personified. I think about the clutch play, and I think about him playing on the biggest stage in baseball, which is that of being a New York Yankee, and how he